Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to review and give you a brief overview of the Nameless RC AIO board. This one's known as the AIO412 flight controller ESC combo. It has everything on here with the exception of your camera, your motors, obviously your VTX on there. You're going to use this board. It's an all-in-one piece with the flight controllers and ESCs combined into one, and what it is it's something you can run 2 to 4S. You can even run Crossfire on this one, and I'm going to show you how to wire that up. Some of you guys have been wanting to run Crossfire on a Whoop for some time now, and I think this is kind of one of those upgrades we're going to see coming out this fall as Whoop season starts to approach. So yes, it's coming. Whoop season's coming back around, and we're going to start flying those super ultra tiny quads. And what an awesome entry into Whoop season than something like this that runs up to 4S and Crossfire. So we do have 12 amp ESCs on here with a burst up to 15 amp, and it's nice because it already does have the XT30 on here soldered up. The wires are ready to go for you, and let's go ahead zoom in a little bit closer with my 4K camera, and I'll show you the top of the flight controller, the motor hookups, and the rest of the bells and whistles on this board. Here we go. So before we get started, I wanted to show you the box that it comes in real quick. This is the Nameless RC box with the QR code to the manual for the AIO412, and that'll show you all the specs, and it'll actually show you all the receiver wiring outputs for getting your receivers soldered up to this board, which is super nice. You see the Nameless RC logo up top, their website right here. You can go check out and probably purchase this board if you want, NamelessRC.com. I got the pins not pre-soldered version, which means that you'll get a bag like this inside the box. It shows your little pin harnesses here. If you decide to do the plug-and-play type motor setup, you can solder these yourself with the 3 wires, the 3 pins down to the board, and then plug in your motors. So pretty simple setup there if you want to quickly replace your motors. Other guys who don't want these on there, it's kind of nice that they gave you the option to have them or not have them. That way you don't have to desolder them from the board. If you're one of those guys who wants to solder the motors directly to the board, sometimes that can be a little bit safer option, as these do break sometime. You'll also get some little screws in here and some rubber grommet standoffs. Alright guys, let's just go ahead and take a look around this board really quickly, and this might help some of you solder up yours. If you want to use this as a guide, it should be pretty simple to set this up. Now, first and foremost, if you're looking to wire this up to your motors, this is where you're going to start. Down here, you're going to have motor number 1. This is motor number 2, 3, and M4 right here. Inside the schematic on the manual, it will show you that. So these are your first 3 pins here. You can see the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th here. Now, the setup that they have going here is 28.5 millimeters where your standoffs are going to go, and that's your standard Whoop configuration. This is not really a board that you're going to use on some type of micro brushless that's not going to have that Whoop, that tiny Whoop style setup. So the cool thing is that we can use a multitude of different receivers on here, up here, and I'm going to show you how they go on. We'll talk about those receivers one at a time in this review. You also notice that this is the 1.0 version of this board. So in the coming weeks, we will be testing this, and hopefully I'll let you know how this performs. It should perform way better than the F4 by Crazy Bee. There's a lot of people out there, F3, F4, Crazy Bee boards, not big fans of those. So we also have some tabs down at the back here. We've got our power wires coming off the bottom right here, which is kind of nice. Your USB port is here, and up on the top in the very front, let's just go ahead and spin this around and go up to the very top of this board for you with my 4K camera, and let me show you what we have going on here. Now, starting over here at the far left, we have buzzer negative, and then we have 5-volt tab right there. That would be 5-volt for your buzzer positive as well. You can also use those 2 tabs for any external 5-volt source. Sometimes I do that, which is kind of nice. If you need it, it's there. Also, your 3rd tab over is going to be for your LEDs. If you choose to add LEDs on there, those are programmable inside Betaflight, which is nice. We also have a ground right here. Next to that, we have 4.5 to 5 volt here. You say a 4V5 right there. That's 4.5 volts up to 5 volts right there. We also have an RX1 right here. It says RC, and we also have an inverted SBUS pad right here. And we have 3.3 volt right here. You can say 3V3, just really small right there. It's kind of hard to read, but that's where your Spektrum receiver power wire is going to go for you Spektrum guys. And then down here we have TX1, and TX1 right here is almost impossible to read. And the first receiver that we're going to wire up to this, I'm going to give you an example of, is the TBS Crossfire Nano RX. The way that that one's going to solder up, if you have a TBS receiver, you know it's 4 wires coming off that receiver. So the way that that's going to work out for you is go ahead and start with your ground and your 5 volt first, and we can put those in the very center. And you're going to look at your schematic on your TBS Nano Crossfire RX, and you're going to make sure that the wire that goes to here is your ground, in fact, and your power wire is there on 5 volt. It will run that. Now next, you're going to do your channel out on channel 1, which is going to be the third one over from, or the very edge, which is right next to your 5 volt, and that is going to be on this tab right here next to your 5 volt, which says RC right there. So that is the signal wire right there for channel 1, and your channel 2 output on your Crossfire Nano RX is going to solder up at this far tab over here. So you're going to skip over this tab right here, and you're going to solder channel 2 right here. So channel 1, channel 2, your 5 volt there, and your ground there. Very simple for your Crossfire setup. And now once you've done that, you can go into Betaflight and you can select CRSF inside Betaflight for your receiver and make sure you have telemetry turned on. And then you should be talking to this board with your Crossfire module, which is super sweet. Now the next receiver wiring setup we're going to talk about here is an XM Plus from FlySky, and the way you're going to do that is very simple, very simple. Ground 5 volt right here, and this bottom pin right here, that is where your inverted SBUS is going to go for your XM Plus receiver. So you're going to do ground 5 volt and your signal wires right here. Usually going to be yellow or a white wire on the XM Plus. You're going to go inside Betaflight next, and you're going to select for your receiver type is going to be Spektrum, SpecSat, SBUS, and then the next tab down you're going to select SBUS, and you should be talking to this board with your receiver inside the receiver tab on your channel ports. Now the next receiver type that we have that would solder up here would be DSMX, and some of those DSMX receivers are 5 volt and some are 3 volt. So depending on which one you have, you want to select the 3 volt tab over here, or you want to select the 5 volt tab. So you're going to go ground 5 volt and or your 3.3 volt here. So your signal wire is actually going to go right here on the RC tab, and then you're going to select DSMX and Spektrum inside Betaflight. And really quickly for you FlySky guys, you're going to use the receiver that's going to be called the FS-RX2A, and that's iBus. And I'll get a lot of questions from these guys asking about how do I hook up iBus. Well, you're simply going to do it ground 5 volt and right here to this RC tab right here. And when you go inside Betaflight, you're going to select serial-based receiver, and you're going to select the next tab down as iBus for your serial receiver provider. So that will get your FlySky transmitter working with this board. And last but not least, guys, we have the AC900 receiver on there, and that's just going to hook up ground 5 volt here, and if you're running Futaba, that's going to hook down here on this one to the inverted SBUS port. When you go inside Betaflight, you're also going to select serial-based receiver SpecSat SBUS, and the next tab down for you Futaba guys will be SBUS, and that should get your receiver working on this board. Now on the very bottom of the board, we have the power inputs over here, and you can see negative right there, positive right there for your battery wires going off. And that, remember, that's 2 to 4S, which is great. We also have 5 volt and ground back here. You can see the G right there and 5 volt right there. And over to the far right over here, starting out with TX2 on the very far right, that you can't really see TX2 there, but there's kind of a 2 there. That's going to be your second terminal for your TX. We have the video out right there, and we have video in. So your camera signal wire is going to go in right here, and video out going out to your video transmitter. We also have an RX2 tab down here, and that's going to be the second receiver tab though. So if you need to run a second receiver option, you can come in right there And you can also hook up your smart audio to that as well. And depending on your setup, you could honestly put these pins for your motor wires through the very top or through the very bottom. Now traditionally they do come off the bottom and the wires come out the bottom of the whoops. It also depends on what type of frame you're running, but this board also supports HV batteries up to 4S. So guys that want to run HV on your smaller whoops, brushless or brushed motors, you can do that. Make sure that your motors are rated for HV if you decide to do that, but this board is ready to go. And I think that the wires that they've chosen for this XT30 right here look pretty beefy actually, so it definitely will handle up to a 4S battery. Really nice little board coming out for early fall for the tiny whoop season. And I'm happy to say that there is the latest beta flight on here. It's 404 on here, and I believe that is Maytech firmware, F411 firmware. So if you're looking for the target on this board to reflash it, you can do that. But it has everything on here we would want, and Betaflight OSD, programmable LEDs, and all the bells and whistles. But you can check this one out at the link below. And I appreciate you guys just watching as always. I'll show you something new on the channel week to week. Please do subscribe. I'm Justin Davis, guys. Take care and happy building. I'll see you on the next one.